Jake Morrison watched the sky burn from his apartment window in Chicago. The massive alien ships hung in the air like dark clouds, their weapons turning buildings into dust and fire. He had been a Marine for 12 years before retiring to work. Construction, but nothing had prepared him for this day. The television showed the same scene happening across the world. New York, London, Tokyo, Moscow. Everywhere the same giant ships appeared and started destroying everything. The news reporters called them the Zelfarian Empire, though Jake did not care what they called themselves. All he knew was that they were killing his people. Lisa Grant ran into the apartment building, her engineer uniform torn and dirty. She worked at the power plant that had been hit first. Jake helped her inside as explosions shook the ground around them. They took out all the power stations, Lisa said, breathing hard. Then the airports, the military bases, everything important. This was planned. Jake looked out the window again. Strange vehicles moved through the streets below. The aliens inside them were tall and gray with long arms. They wore black armor and carried weapons that shot blue light. Wherever the blue light hit, people simply stopped moving. "We need to get to the others," Jake said. He had called his old Marine friends when the attack started. Pete Davis was a colonel now, working at the Pentagon. Ben Carter was a doctor who studied alien life, though he had never expected to see real aliens. Amy Rodriguez was just 19, but could hack into any computer system. They made their way through the burning city. Cars were abandoned everywhere. Some people ran screaming through the streets, while others hid in buildings. The alien soldiers moved in groups, checking each building and taking people away in their vehicles. Jake led Lisa through back alleys and empty stores. His military training helped him avoid the alien patrols. They reached the old subway tunnel, where he had told everyone to meet. Pete Davis was already there with 20 other people, mostly soldiers and police officers. The government surrendered. 2 hours ago, Pete said when he saw Jake. The president is dead. Most of the military commanders are dead or captured. Amy Rodriguez sat in the corner with her laptop, somehow still connected to the internet. "I'm reading their communications," she said. "They've done this before. Many times. They conquer planets and take the people as workers." Dr. Ben Carter examined a piece of alien technology that Pete's men had recovered. "Their weapons are advanced, but not impossible to understand," he said. "They use energy cells that we might be able to copy." Jake looked at the small group of survivors. "So what do we do now?" "We fight," Pete said simply. "That's what soldiers do?" The aliens had expected Earth to surrender completely within days. Their computers showed that most species gave up after seeing their military destroyed. But humans were different. Even with their governments gone and their armies scattered, small groups kept fighting. Jake's group spent the first week learning how the aliens operated. They watched patrols and studied their equipment. Lisa worked on understanding their technology, while Amy tried to break into their computer systems. Ben examined alien bodies from soldiers they had killed. The Zelfarians moved like they were, following a script. They had done this so many times that they expected everything to go exactly the same way. First destroy the military, then the government, then start collecting workers. But the script did not account for people like Jake, who refused to follow it. On the 8th day, Jake led his first real attack. They hit an alien patrol with stolen weapons and disappeared back into the tunnels before reinforcements arrived. They killed 6 aliens and captured their equipment. "This is impossible," Commander Zechthal told his superior. "The humans should be surrendering. Instead, they keep attacking us." Overlord Vexstar studied the reports from Earth. "They are just animals. Increase the pressure. Kill more of them until they understand." But killing more humans only made the survivors angrier. Jake's group grew from 20 people to 50, then to over 100. Other groups formed in different parts of the city. Pete coordinated with military survivors around the world using Amy's communication network. Lisa made her first breakthrough when she figured out how to recharge the alien energy cells using car batteries. Suddenly, they had unlimited ammunition for the captured weapons. Ben discovered that the aliens were weaker than humans physically and needed their armor to survive Earth's atmosphere. Amy's biggest success came when she found a way to listen to alien radio signals. "They're not just on Earth," she told the group. "They have ships across the galaxy, hundreds of worlds under their control." Jake felt something cold in his stomach. "How many people are fighting them?" "Just us," Amy said. Quietly. Every other planet surrendered. The news should have been crushing, but instead it made Jake angry. These aliens flew around the galaxy, taking whatever they wanted, because no one had ever really fought back. They were bullies who had never met. Anyone willing to punch them in the mouth. "Then we'll be the first," Jake said. Word spread through the resistance networks. Humans were the only species that had kept fighting after the initial attack. On other worlds, people had given up hope and accepted slavery. But humans were too stubborn to quit. The aliens increased their patrols and started bombing buildings where they suspected resistance fighters were hiding. They killed thousands of civilians trying to flush out Jake's group and others like them. But for every human they killed, 10 more joined the resistance. Lisa developed better weapons using alien technology combined with human engineering. Pete organized the scattered military units into a real fighting force. Amy created a global communication network that the aliens could not shut down. Ben found ways to make their captured equipment work better than the originals. 3 months after the invasion, Jake led a raid on an alien supply depot. They stole enough weapons and equipment to arm 500 fighters. More importantly, they captured alien prisoners for the first time. The Zaltharian soldiers were terrified. They had never been captured before, because other species always surrendered quickly. They did not know how to handle being prisoners of war. "Your people will surrender soon," one alien told Jake through a translator device. "All species surrender to the Empire." Jake looked at the alien warrior, who seemed so confident despite being tied up and defeated. "You don't know humans very well," he said. "We're too stupid to know when we're beaten." By the end of the 4th month, resistance groups operated in every major city on Earth. The aliens controlled the important buildings and facilities, but they could not control the people. Humans struck at them constantly, day and night, never giving them peace. The Zaltharian Empire had conquered 47 worlds. On each previous world, organized resistance had ended within weeks of the invasion. Earth was taking longer then. All the other worlds combined. Jake stood in the ruins of what had been downtown Chicago, watching alien ships patrol overhead. His group now numbered over 2,000 fighters spread across the city. Similar groups existed everywhere humans lived. They wanted workers, Jake said to Lisa as they planned their next attack. "But they're learning that humans don't make good slaves." Lisa smiled as she finished modifying another captured alien weapon. "Maybe it's time we showed them what humans do make good at." Jake nodded. The aliens had expected to find a weak species, ready to surrender. Instead, they had found something they had never encountered before. A people who got stronger when pushed, who fought harder when hurt, who refused to quit no matter how hopeless things looked. The Zaltharian Empire was about to learn why that was a very dangerous thing to find. 6 months had passed since the Zaltharian ships first appeared in Earth's sky. Jake Morrison crouched in the abandoned subway tunnels beneath Chicago, studying maps with his growing team of resistance fighters. What had started as 20 desperate survivors had become an army of 5,000 people spread across the city. Lisa Grant, looked up from her workbench where she was building weapons from captured alien technology. Her engineering skills had become legendary among the Resistance. She could take broken Zeltharian equipment and make it work better than when the aliens built it. "The power cells are lasting twice as long now," she told Jake. "I figured out how to modify them using parts from old cell phones." Amy Rodriguez sat nearby with 3 laptops and a tangle of wires. At 19, she had become the most wanted human on the planet. Her ability to hack alien systems had given the Resistance eyes and ears everywhere. "I'm picking up chatter from their command ship," Amy said. "They're requesting reinforcements. Apparently, Earth is taking longer to pacify than expected." Dr. Ben Carter walked over carrying a tablet full of notes. His study of alien biology had revealed weaknesses that the Resistance exploited ruthlessly. "I've confirmed that their respiratory systems can't handle certain chemical compounds," he said. "We can make weapons that are completely harmless to humans, but deadly to them." Pete Davis emerged from a meeting with other cell leaders. The former colonel had become the unofficial commander of Resistance forces worldwide. His network of military contacts had kept human fighters coordinated across the globe. "Reports from other cities are good," Pete said. "London hit 3 alien outposts yesterday. Tokyo destroyed a supply convoy. Moscow freed 200 prisoners from a labor camp." Jake felt a grim satisfaction. The aliens had expected human resistance to collapse months ago. Instead, it grew stronger every day. The Zeltharians controlled the major buildings and infrastructure. But they couldn't control the people. Tony Walsh joined the group, his police training making him an excellent scout. He had spent the morning watching alien patrols and mapping their movements. "They're changing their patterns again," he said. "More guards, different routes. They're scared." Maria Santos nodded agreement. The former Navy SEAL had been leading night raids against alien positions. "Their soldiers are jumpy. They shoot at shadows now. We're getting inside their heads." The psychological warfare was working. Zeltharian troops had never faced an enemy that refused to surrender. On other worlds, organized resistance ended quickly after the initial show of force. But humans kept fighting even when victory seemed impossible. Commander Zek Thol stood in the command center of the main Zeltharian base, studying casualty reports. In 6 months of occupation, they had lost more soldiers on Earth than in the previous 10 conquests combined. "The humans are irrational," he told his aide. "They attack positions they cannot hope to capture. They sacrifice themselves for no strategic gain. It makes no sense." What the aliens did not understand was that humans were not fighting for strategic gain. They were fighting because surrender was not in their nature. Every attack, even unsuccessful ones, sent a message that humanity would never stop resisting. Jake led his team through the storm drains beneath the city. They had learned to move through spaces too small for the tall Zeltharian soldiers. The aliens controlled the surface, but the underground belonged to humans. They emerged near an alien depot that stored weapons and supplies Lisa had developed. New explosives using alien technology that would destroy the entire facility. The plan was simple: get in, plant the bombs, get out. But as they approached the building, Amy's communication device crackled with urgent messages. "Jake, you need to hear this," she whispered. The intercepted alien transmission made Jake's blood run cold. The Zeltharians were planning to execute 1,000 human prisoners for every resistance fighter killed. They would start with children. "We abort the mission," Jake said immediately. "No," said Lisa firmly. "That's exactly what they want. They're trying to break our will by threatening innocents." Pete's voice came through the radio from another position. "All teams, continue the mission. If we stop fighting every time they threaten civilians, we might as well surrender now." It was the hardest decision Jake had ever made. But he knew Pete was right. The aliens were using human compassion as a weapon against them. The only way to save the prisoners was to win the war. The explosions lit up the night sky as 3 alien depots were destroyed simultaneously. The psychological impact was enormous. Despite their threats, despite their superior technology, despite controlling Earth's governments, the aliens could not stop human resistance. The executions that followed were brutal. The aliens killed exactly 1,000 prisoners in public squares across the world. They broadcast the murders on every available channel, expecting humans to finally break. Instead, the executions had the opposite effect. Resistance membership doubled overnight. People who had been hiding or collaborating with the aliens joined the fight. The Zeltharians had made a critical error. They had shown humans exactly what surrender would bring. Dr. Ben Carter made his most important discovery while examining the bodies of executed prisoners. "They're using some kind of neural control device," he explained to the group. The prisoners weren't just killed. They were being prepared for mental conditioning. Amy's face went pale as she processed the implications. They don't just want workers. They want slaves who can't think for themselves. The knowledge spread through the resistance networks within hours. Every human on Earth now understood that surrender meant losing their minds as well as their freedom. There would be no negotiated peace, no compromise, no mercy from their invaders. Jake found himself leading larger and more complex operations. The resistance had evolved from desperate survivors into a sophisticated military organization. They had their own intelligence network, supply lines, and communication systems. Lisa's workshop had become an underground factory producing weapons that surpassed original Zeltharian designs. She had reverse engineered their technology and improved it using human engineering principles. "Their stuff is powerful but inefficient," she explained while showing Jake her latest creation. "They build everything the same way because it works. We build everything different because we're always trying to make it better." Amy had penetrated so deeply into alien computer systems that she sometimes knew about Zeltharian operations before the aliens themselves did. Her virus programs had crashed their networks dozens of times. Rick Johnson arrived at the base carrying good news. The former Air Force pilot had successfully learned to fly captured alien aircraft. "Once you understand the controls, they're actually easier to pilot than our jets," he said. "I think we can train other pilots." Susan Clark had been working with Ben Carter on biological weapons specifically designed to target Zeltharian physiology. "We've identified several compounds that are harmless to humans but fatal to them," she reported. "We can deploy these through their air filtration systems." The resistance was no longer just surviving. It was adapting and improving. Human ingenuity was turning alien advantages into human weapons. Every piece of captured technology became a tool for liberation. Overlord Vextar reviewed the reports from Earth with growing concern. What should have been a simple conquest was becoming a costly war. His officers were requesting additional ships, more troops, better equipment. "Perhaps we should consider orbital bombardment," suggested one of his commanders. "Destroy their cities completely." "No," Vextar replied. "Dead workers are useless workers. We need the human population intact." It was a decision that would prove to be his greatest mistake. By trying to preserve their future workforce, the Zeltharians gave humans time to organize, adapt, and fight back effectively. Jake stood on a rooftop in downtown Chicago, looking at the alien ships that still patrolled the sky. 6 months ago, they had seemed invincible. Now he knew they could be beaten. "How long do you think this will take?" Lisa asked, joining him on the roof. Jake thought about the question seriously. "However long it takes," he said finally. "That's the thing they don't understand about humans. We don't have a quit button." 1 year after the invasion began, Jake Morrison stood in what had once been the Chicago Museum of Science. Now it served as the central command center for the North American resistance. Maps covered the walls showing alien positions, supply, routes, and planned attacks across the continent. Lisa Grant had transformed the museum's workshop into a technology center that would have impressed the Zeltharians themselves. Her team of engineers and scientists worked around the clock, creating weapons and equipment that combined human innovation with alien technology. "Look at this," Lisa said, showing Jake her latest creation. The device looked like a standard Zeltharian energy rifle, but she had modified it extensively. It fires 3 times faster, uses half the power, and the energy beam can punch through their armor like paper. Amy Rodriguez had grown from a teenage hacker into the Resistance's master of information warfare. Her computer setup now filled an entire room with dozens of screens showing intercepted alien communications, resistance operations, and global intelligence networks. "I've been tracking their supply ships," Amy reported during the morning briefing. "They're bringing in equipment from 12 different star systems. But I've also found something interesting. They're having supply problems." Dr. Ben Carter had expanded his biological research with help from Susan Clark, a biochemist who had joined the resistance 6 months earlier. Together, they had developed weapons that exploited every weakness in Zeltharian physiology. "Their immune systems can't handle Earth bacteria," Ben explained. "We've weaponized common cold viruses. To us, it's just a runny nose. To them, it's fatal." The resistance had grown beyond anyone's expectations. What started as scattered groups of survivors had become a coordinated military force numbering in the millions. Pete Davis now commanded an organization that rivaled Earth's former armies. General Nathan Brooks had emerged as the supreme leader of all resistance forces worldwide. The former Pentagon strategist had unified human fighters across every continent into a single command structure. His daily briefings connected resistance cells from Alaska to Australia. Intelligence reports show the aliens are requesting reinforcements. For the 3rd time, Brooks announced over the secure communication network. This has never happened in their previous conquests. Jake felt a surge of pride at the news. Humanity had achieved something no other species had managed. They had made the Zeltharian Empire sweat. The aliens who had conquered dozens of worlds were struggling with one stubborn planet. Tony Walsh returned from a scouting mission with disturbing news. "They're building something big outside the city," he reported. "Looks like a processing facility, industrial scale." Maria Santos had intelligence from her contacts in other cities. Same thing happening everywhere. London, Paris, Berlin, Moscow. They're preparing for mass production of something. Amy's fingers flew across her keyboards as she tried to break into the alien construction database. After an hour of work, she found the answer. Her face went pale as she read the files. "It's a mind control facility," she said quietly. "They're planning to process every human on Earth, turn us into programmable workers who can't think or feel." The revelation sent shockwaves through the resistance. The aliens weren't just planning to enslave humanity. They wanted to erase human consciousness entirely. Every person on Earth would become a living robot, able to work but unable to remember who they had been. "How long until it's operational?" Jake asked. Amy checked the construction timeline. 6 months for the first facility. 1 year for global coverage. The timetable changed everything. The resistance could no longer afford to fight a defensive war. They needed to take the offensive and destroy the Zeltharian infrastructure before it could be completed. Lisa's team worked frantically to develop new weapons capable of destroying the massive construction projects. She combined human explosives with alien energy technology to create bombs powerful enough to level entire city blocks. Rick Johnson had been training human pilots to fly captured alien aircraft. His squadron now included 20 skilled pilots, who could operate Zeltharian fighters better than their original crews. "We're faster and more creative than they are," Rick explained. "Their pilots follow predetermined flight patterns. We improvise. In a dogfight, improvisation beats programming every time." The first major offensive began at dawn on a Tuesday morning. Coordinated attacks hit alien facilities in 50 cities simultaneously. Jake led the assault on the Chicago Mind Control facility. While similar operations launched worldwide, the Zeltharians were caught completely off guard. They had expected continued guerrilla warfare, not large-scale military operations. Human forces struck with precision and overwhelming firepower, destroying months of construction work in hours. Jake's team fought their way through waves of alien defenders. Lisa's modified weapons cut through enemy armor like it was made of paper. Amy coordinated the assault from her mobile command center, hacking alien defense systems and turning their own security against them. Dr. Ben Carter's biological weapons proved devastatingly effective. Alien soldiers collapsed as engineered viruses attacked their respiratory systems. Susan Clark's chemical compounds turned their environmental suits into death traps, but the aliens adapted quickly. Commander Zekthol ordered immediate changes to their defensive strategies. Reinforcements poured in from orbit, and new types of soldiers appeared, ones that seemed immune to human biological weapons. "They're learning from us," Pete observed during a strategy session. "Just like we learned from them." The war had entered a new phase. Both sides were evolving, adapting, improving their tactics and technology. But humans had one advantage the aliens lacked. They were fighting for their survival and freedom. The Zeltharians were just following orders. Alex Turner had infiltrated an alien command center by disguising himself as a collaborator. His intelligence reports revealed growing dissent within Zeltharian ranks. Many alien soldiers were questioning the wisdom of continuing the Earth campaign. "Some of them want to leave," Alex reported. "They're calling Earth a cursed world, where nothing goes according to plan." Jake smiled at the news. Fear was spreading through the alien forces. Warriors who had conquered dozens of worlds without serious resistance were now facing an enemy that refused to be conquered. Paul White, a strategic analyst who had joined the resistance, provided crucial insight into alien psychology. "They're a hierarchical species that follows strict protocols," he explained. "When those protocols fail, they don't know how to adapt." Linda Parker led special operations teams that struck at alien leadership targets. Her assassination campaigns had eliminated dozens of senior Zeltharian commanders, disrupting their chain of command. Sam Kelly worked with Lisa to modify captured alien spacecraft. His engineering skills had produced hybrid ships that combined the best of human and alien technology. These vessels were faster, more maneuverable, and better armed than anything either species had built alone. The Resistance achieved its first major victory when Jake's forces successfully defended Chicago against a full-scale alien assault. For 3 days, Zeltharian ground troops and aircraft hammered human positions. But every attack was repelled with heavy alien casualties. "This is impossible," Commander Zekthol told Overlord Vextar. "We have superior numbers, better weapons, orbital support. How are they winning?" Vextar studied the battle reports with growing confusion. The humans should have been crushed months ago. Instead, they were getting stronger, more organized, more dangerous. What the aliens failed to understand was that humans thrived under pressure. Every challenge made them more creative, more determined, more united. The invasion that was supposed to break humanity had instead forged it into something stronger than it had ever been. Lisa made her greatest breakthrough when she successfully reversed the alien mind control technology. Instead of erasing human consciousness, her modified devices could disrupt Zeltharian neural patterns. "We can turn their own weapons against them," she explained excitedly. Not just kill them, but confuse them, make them forget their training and protocols. Amy had penetrated so deeply into alien computer systems that she could now control some of their equipment remotely. During battles, Zeltharian weapons would malfunction, their communications would fail, their vehicles would shut. Down without explanation. The psychological impact was enormous. Alien soldiers began to fear their own equipment. They never knew when their weapons might turn against them, or their vehicles might trap them inside. By the end of the first year, the situation had completely reversed. The Zeltharians held their fortified positions, but could not expand their control. Human forces launched attacks whenever and wherever they chose. Jake stood on the roof of the museum, watching alien ships patrol the sky. But now there were fewer of them, and they flew higher, staying out of range of human anti-aircraft weapons. They're scared, Lisa observed, joining him. For the first time in their history, the mighty Zeltharian Empire is afraid. Jake nodded, feeling the weight of leadership on his shoulders. Millions of humans looked to him, and others like him, for hope. But now that hope was justified. They had proven that the aliens could be defeated. Year 2 is going to be different, Jake said. We're not just going to survive anymore. We're going to win. 18 months after the first Zeltharian ships appeared, Jake Morrison led 2,000 resistance fighters through the streets of Manhattan. The city that had been under alien control since the invasion's first day was about to be liberated. Grant coordinated the technical aspects of the assault from her mobile command center. Her weapons had evolved far beyond modified alien technology. She now created devices that were purely human innovations, designed specifically to exploit every weakness the aliens possessed. All teams report ready, Amy Rodriguez announced through the secure communication network. At 20, she had become the voice that connected resistance fighters across the globe. Her hacking abilities had grown to the point where she could control entire alien computer networks. The liberation of New York had been planned for months. General Nathan Brooks had coordinated with resistance cells worldwide to ensure that simultaneous attacks would prevent the aliens from sending reinforcements. As Jake's forces moved through Manhattan, similar operations launched in London, Tokyo, and 50 other cities. Dr. Ben Carter and Susan Clark had provided the biological weapons that made the assault possible. Their latest creation was a virus that attacked Zeltharian nervous systems, causing temporary paralysis without permanent harm. The resistance had decided that capturing aliens alive was more valuable than killing them. Pete Davis commanded the overall strategy from his headquarters. In Washington, the former colonel had become a 5-star general in everything but official title. His coordination of resistance forces rivaled the greatest military operations in human history. Phase 1 complete, came the report from Tony Walsh. The former police officer now led urban warfare specialists who had secured key intersections throughout the city. All major routes are under our control. Maria Santos and her special operations team had neutralized the alien command center in what used to be City Hall. The Navy SEAL turned resistance fighter had become legendary for her ability to infiltrate heavily defended positions. Command structure is down, Maria reported. The aliens are operating without central coordination. Jake felt a surge of satisfaction as he watched human fighters pour through streets that had been forbidden to them for over a year. The Zeltharians had built their defenses, assuming they would face the same type of resistance they had encountered on other worlds. They were unprepared for the coordinated assault of a united humanity. Rick Johnson's air squadron controlled the skies above Manhattan. His pilots flew a mixture of captured alien fighters and Lisa's hybrid aircraft. The combination of human creativity with alien technology had produced vehicles superior to anything either species could build alone. All enemy air assets neutralized, Rick reported, We own the sky. Alex Turner had spent weeks inside alien facilities, gathering intelligence while posing as a collaborator. His information had made the assault possible. Secondary facilities are lightly defended, he transmitted. Recommend immediate capture. The battle for New York lasted only 6 hours. What should have been a bloody siege became a rout as alien. Defenders fled or surrendered. The psychological impact on both sides was enormous. Humanity's greatest city was free, but Jake knew the real victory was not just taking New York, it was keeping it. The aliens would counterattack with everything they had. The question was whether human forces could hold what they had won. Admiral Kate Thompson had been preparing for exactly this scenario. The former Navy officer now commanded humanity's space-capable fleet, built from captured and modified alien vessels. Her ships waited in orbit, ready to intercept any Zeltharian reinforcements. Alien fleet moving to attack position, Kate reported. From her flagship, 12 heavy cruisers and support vessels. We're moving to intercept. The space battle that followed was humanity's first major engagement beyond Earth's atmosphere. Kate's fleet was outnumbered, but not outmatched. Human pilots and tactics proved superior to alien doctrine that relied on overwhelming firepower rather than strategic thinking. Enemy flagship destroyed, came the report from Captain Bobby Cruz, commanding the human dreadnought Earth's Vengeance. The ship was Lisa's masterpiece, combining human engineering with alien technology to create the most powerful vessel in the solar system. Commander Zekthal watched his fleet being systematically destroyed by ships that should not have existed. Human space technology had been primitive 18 months ago. Now they fielded vessels that outclassed his own. How is this possible? He asked his aide. They should not have been able to build a space fleet. What Zekthal did not understand was that humans had not built a space fleet. They had captured one and made it better. Every Zeltharian ship taken by the Resistance had been studied, improved, and turned against its former owners. Paul White provided the strategic analysis that explained human success. We adapt faster than they can respond, he told Jake during a planning session. By the time they figure out how to counter our tactics, we've already moved on to something new. Linda Parker's assassination teams had eliminated so many alien commanders that the Zeltharian chain of command was in chaos. They're promoting junior officers who have no combat experience, she reported. Their leadership structure is collapsing. Sam Kelly's shipyards had produced enough hybrid vessels to give humanity a real space navy. His designs incorporated lessons learned from 18 months of warfare, creating ships that were optimized for fighting Zeltharians. The liberation of major cities continued across the globe. By the end of the month, human forces controlled every major population center on Earth. The aliens retained their orbital installations and some remote facilities, but they had lost the war for Earth's surface. Dr. Ben Carter made a discovery. That changed everything when he examined captured Zeltharian computer records. They're not just invading Earth, he announced. They're fleeing something else. Amy's analysis of alien communication networks confirmed Ben's findings. There's a war in their home systems, she reported. Something called the Void Swarm is destroying Zeltharian worlds. Jake felt a mix of satisfaction and opportunity. The mighty Zeltharian Empire was fighting for its survival against an even greater enemy. Earth was not their primary concern. It was supposed to be an easy conquest that would provide resources for their real war. That's why they need us as workers, Lisa realized. They're losing their own population to this other war. The knowledge explained many alien decisions that had seemed irrational. Their insistence on keeping humans alive, their reluctance to use orbital bombardment, their focus on mind control rather than extermination. All of it made sense if they desperately needed Earth's population intact. General Brooks called an emergency meeting of all resistance leaders. This changes our entire strategy, he announced. "We're not just fighting for Earth's freedom. We're fighting for humanity's future in the galaxy." The implications were staggering. If the Zeltharian Empire fell to the Void Swarm, what would happen to Earth? Would humanity face an even worse enemy? Or would they inherit the alien infrastructure and technology? Jake decided that speculation was pointless. The immediate problem was finishing the liberation of Earth. Whatever came after, humanity would face it as free people rather than slaves. The final assault on the main Zeltharian base began at dawn. Jake led the ground forces while Kate's fleet attacked from orbit. The aliens had fortified their primary installation in the Nevada desert, turning it into a fortress that controlled their remaining operations on Earth. Lisa had developed special weapons for the assault, devices that could penetrate the alien shields and disable their defensive systems. Amy coordinated cyber warfare that turned the base's own security systems against its defenders. The battle lasted 2 days. Zeltharian forces fought with desperate courage, knowing that defeat meant the end of their presence on Earth. But human determination proved stronger than alien desperation. Commander Ziegthal made his last stand in the base's command center. As human forces closed in around him, he activated a communication device to contact Overlord Vexstar. "The humans have won," he reported. "Earth is lost." Vexstar's response surprised everyone who heard it. "Understood. Begin evacuation procedures. We cannot afford to lose any more ships to this cursed world." Jake entered the command center to find Zekthul destroying records and equipment. The alien commander looked at him with something that might have been respect. "Your species is unlike any we have encountered," Zekthul said through his translator. "Perhaps that is why you will survive what is coming." "What do you mean?" Jake asked, but Zekthul had activated a self-destruct device. The explosion destroyed the command center and all the alien records it contained. The last Zeltharian commander on Earth died rather than provide information that might help humanity. 3 days later, the remaining alien forces evacuated Earth in their surviving ships. 18 months after arriving as conquerors, the Zeltharian Empire retreated in defeat. Jake stood in the ruins of the Nevada base, watching the last alien ship disappear into space. Around him, human fighters celebrated their victory. But Jake felt no urge to celebrate. "This isn't over," he told Lisa. "They'll be back, or something worse will come." 2 years after the invasion began, Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the human starship, Liberation, watching the Zeltharian home system grow larger on the main screen. The ship was Lisa Grant's greatest creation, a fusion of human engineering and captured alien technology that surpassed anything either species had built alone. Sensors are picking up massive battle damage throughout the system, Amy Rodriguez reported from her station. Now 21, she had become humanity's expert on alien technology and communications. The Void Swarm hit this place hard. Admiral Kate Thompson commanded the human fleet from her flagship Earth's Revenge. 27 ships strong, the fleet represented everything humanity had learned about space warfare. Each vessel was crewed by people who had fought the aliens on Earth and survived. "All ships report ready for combat," Kate announced over the communication system. "Remember, our mission is to liberate human slaves, not to conquer alien worlds." Dr. Ben Carter studied the biological scans coming from the Zeltharian planets. "The Void Swarm appears to be some kind of engineered plague," he reported. "It's destroying all organic life in the system." Jake felt a mixture of satisfaction and pity as he watched the alien ships fleeing their own worlds. The mighty Zeltharian Empire that had conquered dozens of planets was being destroyed by an enemy they could not fight or understand, but Jake's focus was on the human colonies scattered throughout the system. Intelligence gathered from captured alien databases showed that millions of people taken from Earth lived as slaves in Zeltharian work camps. General Nathan Brooks coordinated the liberation efforts from Earth. His voice crackled over the long range communicator as he provided updates from the home planet. London reports successful contact with the Andromedan resistance, Brooks announced. Paris has established trade relations with the Centauri Republic. Humanity is no longer alone in the galaxy. The revelation that other species were also fighting the Zeltharian Empire had changed everything. Earth's successful resistance had inspired rebellions across dozens of worlds. The alien empire was collapsing from within as its slaves turned against their masters. Lisa monitored the ship's hybrid systems from the engineering deck. All weapons are functioning at optimal capacity, she reported. The new energy shields are holding steady. Her innovations had given humanity a technological edge that the aliens could not match. By combining human creativity with alien science, she had created ships and weapons that were superior to anything in the galaxy. Pete Davis led the ground assault teams that would liberate the human work camps. The former colonel had trained thousands of fighters in the tactics that had proven successful on Earth. Remember, these people have been slaves for years, Pete reminded his troops. They may not trust us at first. Be patient and keep your weapons lowered unless fired upon. The first planet they approached was Zelthara 7, a mining world where 50,000 humans worked in conditions that would have been considered torture chambers on Earth. The orbital defenses had been destroyed by the Void Swarm, leaving the planet defenseless. Tony Walsh piloted the landing craft that carried Jake's team to the surface. The former police officer had become an expert at operating alien vehicles. Setting down near the main work camp, he announced, the scene that greeted them was heartbreaking. Humans in tattered clothing worked with primitive tools, while Zeltharian guards watched from armored vehicles. The people looked up in confusion as the human ships landed nearby. Maria Santos led the assault team that neutralized the alien guards. Her special operations training had evolved into something that terrified enemies across the galaxy. The Zeltharian soldiers surrendered without firing a shot. You're free, Jake announced to the confused crowd of workers. We're from Earth. We've come to take you home. An older man stepped forward, his face scarred from years of hard labor. Earth was destroyed, he said quietly. The aliens told. Everyone was dead. Amy activated her mobile communication unit and connected to Earth's global network. See for yourself, she said, showing images of rebuilt cities and free humans working together. The emotional impact was overwhelming. People who had given up hope years ago suddenly realized that their home world had not only survived, but had won the war against their captors, Dr. Ben. Carter began medical examinations of the liberated humans. Malnutrition, untreated injuries, but nothing that can't be healed, he reported. They're survivors, just like us. Rick Johnson coordinated the evacuation flights that would take the freed humans to safety. His transport pilots worked around the clock, moving people from the work camps to the waiting fleet. Zeltharian reinforcements incoming, warned Alex Turner from his reconnaissance position. Looks like they want their slaves back. Jake smiled grimly as he watched the alien ships approach. The Zeltharians were about to learn that humans were no longer helpless victims. They had become something far more dangerous, liberators with superior technology and an unbreakable will. The space battle was brief but decisive. Human ships moved with precision and coordination that the aliens could not match. Lisa's weapons punched through Zeltharian shields like they were made of paper. Captain Bobby Cruz commanded the Earth's vengeance in the assault that destroyed the alien flagship. Target eliminated, he reported with satisfaction. All remaining enemy vessels are retreating. But Jake knew the real victory was not the space battle. It was the moment when 50,000 humans realized they were free. The scenes of liberation were repeated on dozens of worlds as the human fleet moved through the system. Paul White provided intelligence, analysis that revealed the full scope of human slavery throughout the galaxy. Conservative estimates suggest 5 million humans are held in various Zeltharian facilities. He reported Linda Parker's assassination teams had been busy eliminating alien commanders who might organize resistance to the liberation efforts. Most of their leadership is focused on fighting the Void Swarm, she reported. They don't have resources to stop us. Sam Kelly's hybrid ships performed flawlessly in the campaign. His engineering innovations had produced vessels that could outrun, outfight, and outmaneuver anything the aliens possessed. The liberation of the Zeltharian home system took 3 months. By the end, over 2 million humans had been freed from slavery and were on their way back to Earth, or to new colony worlds. But the most important discovery came when Amy successfully hacked into the central Zeltharian database. "I've found the location of every human colony in the galaxy," she announced. "And something else. The aliens have been keeping detailed records of other species they've enslaved." Jake studied the data with growing excitement. The Zeltharian Empire had conquered 47 different species across hundreds of worlds. Each conquest had been methodically documented, including the location of slave populations and industrial facilities. "We're not just liberating humans," Jake realized. "We can free everyone they've ever conquered." The implications were staggering. Humanity had gone from a conquered species to the galaxy's greatest liberating force in just 2 years. The same stubborn determination that had defeated the invasion of Earth could now free the entire galaxy. Admiral Kate Thompson coordinated with the leaders of other liberated species to form the Galactic Liberation Alliance. "Humans will provide the military leadership and advanced technology," she announced. "Together we can defeat the Zeltharian Empire permanently." The final assault on the Zeltharian capital world came 6 months later. Jake led a combined force of humans and alien allies in the attack that would end the Empire once and for all. Overlord Vextar made his last stand in the Imperial Palace, surrounded by the few loyal troops he had left. As human forces closed in, he activated a personal communicator to record his final message. "The humans were supposed to be weak," he said into the device. "We conquered 47 worlds without serious resistance. But Earth changed everything. They refused to surrender, refused to break, refused to accept defeat. Now our empire falls because we underestimated one stubborn little planet." Jake entered the throne room to find Vextar waiting for him. The alien emperor looked older and more tired than his species normally appeared. "Your people have won more than just their freedom," Vextar said through his translator. "You have become something the galaxy has never seen before, a species that fights not for conquest, but for liberation." "We fight because it's the right thing to do," Jake replied simply. Vextar nodded slowly. "That is why you will succeed where we failed. The Void Swarm destroys everything it touches. But perhaps beings who fight for others, rather than themselves, can find a way to stop it." The alien emperor died peacefully in his throne, the last ruler of an empire that had spanned the galaxy for 1,000 years. His final words proved prophetic. Humanity would indeed find a way to stop the Void Swarm, but that is a story for another time. 3 years after the first Zeltharian ships appeared over Earth, Jake Morrison stood in the assembly hall of the New Galactic Republic. Representatives from dozens of liberated worlds had gathered to sign the charter that would govern their alliance.